Oh, like they fall. All right, 6 o'clock, we'll call the council meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the Monday, May 4th, 2026. Credit River City Council meeting will begin by approving or amending the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda any council member would like to make tonight? Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Satterbach, second by Schomer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on to consent agenda. Those items on the council agenda which are considered routine or non-controversial are included as part of the consent agenda. Unless a council member specifically requests an item on the consent agenda be removed and considered separately, items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion, second and a vote. Any item removed from consent agenda shall be placed at the end of general business. Tonight on consent agenda, we've got 3.1 minutes from the April 20th, 2026 City Council meeting. 3.2, accept bids and award the contract to Asphalt Surface Technology Corp. For the 2026 microsurfacing project. And 3.3, approve payment of claims and bills and transfer requests as presented. Is there anything that any council member would like to remove and consider separately? No. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Jay.
I'll second.
Leroy. So again, motion by Satterbach, second by Schomer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Steve, you can win. I need you batteries. It's on. Yep. Open forum. The public forum is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the council. The public forum will be no longer 30 minutes in length, and each presenter will have no more than 5 minutes to speak. Topics of discussion are restricted to local governmental topics rather than private or political agendas. The council may discuss but will not take formal action on public forum presentations. Tonight on public forum, we got Mr. Thielebrath. And Joe, I assume you just signed in because you're speaking a presentation there, right? Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Peter, would you turn that on?
Thanks, Peter. You know how to run the microphone.
Thanks for the. Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. I'd like to point an exhibit here that on the Friday, April 24th, 2026, Sun this Times for Lakeville. Front page news, Lakeville okays 1-year housing moratorium. And I'll read a couple portions of the article that I have right here. We had a conversation as a council on Monday to do a moratorium for a year on new housing. There are some exceptions to that rule as well. If it's already plotted, we're not going to try to interfere with it. That gives the city and planning commission some opportunity to really sit down, have conversations about, okay, if the legislator moves in this direction, how are we going to respond so that we can get to continue being the deciders on how our community will grow. After consideration, the council saw it best fit to propose this moratorium in order to complete studies in relation to Lakeville's 2040 comprehensive plan and their related development rules. As stated in the city's website, during the temporary pause, the city will not accept, approve certain new residential plot, subdivision, rezoning, or comprehensive plan amendment applications covered by the ordinance. The pause may last up to 1 year, but end sooner if updated rules are adopted. The announcement said that the ordinance would not halt projects that are already in process if a residential development has already gained preliminary plot approval, completed preliminary plot applications that were approved by the city or the alternative urban area-wide review process, They will not be affected by the ordinance. The article went on to talk about some comments from people that were there as far as city comments, comments from builders and from local citizens. After listening to, and the article ends, after listening to community feedback, the moratorium was unanimously approved and went into effect. Now, as Lakeville is taking this to be a necessary action to take and being a city right next to ours, I'm wondering if the city of Credit River should possibly consider taking a similar opportunity to ensure that we are the deciders on how this community will grow. I know that the city of Lakeville has more going on with that, but we are a new city and we have a lot to catch up to. One of the main things we have is that the city of Credit River has adopted official statements citing our values, our vision, and our mission. These statements would provide some ideological guidance to the improvement of our ordinances and codes. Optional ideas to implement an action, if it is so taken by the council, is to appoint a citizens advisory group whose focus and goal would be to improve ordinances and codes to ensure sufficient guardrails for future development. And also with the possible future legislative agendas that are probably coming down. Or consider engaging the planning commission with this task. And I'll have to address that if there are any members of the planning commission watching this. I know I can't speak for you all, but this is just a suggestion. Also, tonight's agenda's general business items include 2 ordinance amendments that were created using city staff resources and apparently without the need for additional budget funding to complete the process. I believe the city of Credit River could amend a majority of ordinances and codes using the expertise of the planning, engineering, administrative, finance, and legal departments currently at its disposal. Although the issues of the city of Lakeville is attempting to face on a far greater scale, the issues that the issues that the city of Credit River will have to face, I believe, are no less important when it comes to our residences. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. All right, I've got nobody else signed up for open forum. Anybody like to speak in open forum tonight? One last chance. See nobody?
Oh, wait. Order, sir. I haven't been here for a few weeks. I'm sure you've missed me.
You got a new shirt.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
I like it.
Been
peaceful.
Paul hooked me up again.
Yeah.
I haven't been here, but I have been watching. And it looked to me a few meetings ago that the $6,000 consultant fee to find out what kind of animal you are was another waste of money. Because a few weeks ago, one council member took it upon himself to interrupt another council member while he was having a presentation. The council member that did that made an ass of himself. So the $6,000 was wasted. Can't we just frickin' get along? There you go.
All right, one last chance for open forum. Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations. Tonight, we've got Michael and Joe from the Scott County CDA to talk about business community development program presentations. So take it away, guys.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to allow us to join you this evening and share some of the information on our Community Development Agency or CDA programs. For those of you that are not familiar with the CDA, we are about a 50-year-old organization that focuses on opportunities to live and work in Scott County. And our department is 7 individuals of the 30 that are staffed by the CDA. And tonight, Michael Wernicke, Business Development Manager, is here to join me to share some of the programs that we have to assist businesses as well as our home ownership program. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Michael and I'll wrap up with some of the other programs.
Thank you for having us here today. So in our efforts to facilitate a thriving entrepreneurial network here in Scott County, we at the Center for Entrepreneurship have programs that are available for first stage businesses. For those that are unaware, we are located at 4601 Dean Lakes Boulevard. That is in the building right next to the North American headquarters of GN, formerly the Shutterfly Building. Out of this office space at the Dean Lakes Education Center, we operate a business accelerator for first stage businesses where they can either office or we allow for virtual memberships. And along with that come a variety of resources, including some small business grants, mentorship, access to capital, and advisory services for these businesses. Currently, we have 19 members at the Center for Entrepreneurship. We also have Next Stage Minnesota. So this is a nonprofit the CDA partners with that is free advisory business support for all businesses here in Scott County. So if you're looking at starting a business, we encourage you to come down, meet with Next Stage. It's a great opportunity. Looking forward for your business. If you need help setting up your business, going through the licensing process, having them help set up your books, helping develop a marketing plan. Next Stage is the place to go. We also have the Fast Track Business Challenge. This is our Shark Tank-like business pitch competition that is held annually. This year we will be conducting our 10th annual event. And we've had a lot of great success from this event. We offer a variety of judges to come on in, listen to the business's pitch, and we've got some great case studies of businesses that have moved out and are actually building. They're constructing places of work here in Scott County, increasing the property tax base. So just some really good stories. We also have a really good ecosystem with our partners. So we are partners with DEED, the Department of Employment and Economic Development, in Launch, Minnesota. And we're in tune with all of those calls. They have a lot of information to share out for our businesses, and we make our businesses aware of those offerings. So the Scott County Center for Entrepreneurship, these are the 5 categories. These are areas, some of the service offerings that are made available. We have 10 private business owners here in Scott County working with members of the Center for Entrepreneurship. As I touched on earlier, Next Stage Minnesota offers the advisory business support services for these businesses. We also have 4 service providers. That offer out small micro grants for these businesses to utilize for launching their business. We hold semi-monthly educational sessions, and these are made available to all members of Scott County. We market here in Scott County and to the greater metro area. We also have an innovation lab with 3D printers, laser engraving equipment. These are just resources, again, for some of these businesses that are looking to bootstrap, prototype, and move their product along. Next slide. This is just to highlight 2025 for the Center for Entrepreneurship. So again, we have got 19 paying members. They are paying for either office space or the virtual membership. In 2025, we were able to serve 177 entrepreneurs. These businesses reported receiving $2 million in outside capital. 16 full-time jobs were created from this program. The average wages reported was $68,000, and we were able to conduct 11 monthly educational sessions that were free to these businesses. And this is the 3rd biennium that the Center for Entrepreneurship has received funding from the state of Minnesota.
Are you fully funded from the state of Minnesota or how?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
What you're seeing here is just Fast Track. So again, it's the 10th annual Fast Track. This is an event that we'll hold at the CDA October 8th. We welcome, so all applications are due July 31st, but these are for first stage businesses. To apply, they can go to scottcountyfasttrack.com and register. We set them up with an advisor. We do practice pitches to help these businesses conduct at the final event. Past events, we had Senator Pratt, we've had the Mayor of Savage, we've had other individuals throughout the county participate. We've received sponsorship. So this event is privately funded through businesses through either cash donations or in-kind service prize packages. And we've had a lot of really good success stories come out of it. So I would encourage anyone, if you have the time, October 8th, come down to the CDA. Last year we had 55 individuals from the community come out and participate, and it was a really fun event. This is just highlighting some of the marketing that you might be seeing online through our social accounts, but again, just to get the word out about our program. This touches on just the entrepreneurship and the educational sessions that we conduct. In the bottom left hand of that screen, just this past month, we partnered and worked with the MinCaps program. This was something that we brought all of our mentors and advisors into. We held it at the Link Event Center over in Prior Lake. We had over 100 participants. This was just one of them, but it was an opportunity for the students to come down, sit, listen, get feedback from the private business owners and mentors, a part of this entrepreneurship. And this is just an example of some of the sessions that we hold. Oh, you're good. You can go to the next one. That's fine. And then another strategic priority of ours is increasing the number of businesses here. So along with the Center for Entrepreneurship, but we also man all of the leads coming in through MNCAR. So that's the Minnesota Commercial Real Estate Association. So any of the leads looking for sites here in Scott County, we help find them. This was one of the events that we put together that was fully sponsored by the utility providers. We held it at Canterbury, but this was an opportunity to bring brokers from all around the metro to make them aware of what we have to offer here in Scott County and that it's a great place to do business. And from that event, we've had several brokers that we've been working with on some of our other projects with the CDA. I know some of the other communities have reported success in that measure as well. But it's just really a great time to connect with brokers and let them know of what's available here. At this event, we had speakers from Deed. We had speakers from Scott County talking about the fiber network. We had all of the cities giving updates on what was available in their communities. But from this, like I said, I think it overall, the impact was great. And in our effort to continue business recruitment, the Scott County CDA, we're members of MNCAR. We bring out cities that would like to showcase some of their developments. In the picture there, we have New Prague representation. We've got Shakopee. We've got the city of Savage. And this was just an opportunity, again, to present. We have a booth at the MNCAR Expo, where over 700 brokers are in attendance, and we get to share out some of the available opportunities here in Scott County with the whole goal of increasing our workforce and the county tax base. We've done this the 2 previous years. This was similar, but we didn't do it this year because we didn't need 3 years of doing it. We held the Scott County Industrial Sites Tour. So this was an opportunity with Greater MSP, partners from Deed, talk about preparing sites for commercial development. We service the Greater MSP and Deed leads from the state of Minnesota. These are very large projects, bringing in hundreds of employees, potentially to the community, but just to make sure that we are, putting our best foot forward when it comes to site development here in Scott County. And then just to touch on, as I mentioned before, Next Stage Minnesota. It's a free advisory support service. It's with Lee Hall at Next Stage. And these are just some of the metrics that he reported in 2025. They do have financing available for some of these businesses. They reported 6 financing events. Direct lending was 370,000. Leverage financing was 5.5 million. Equity deals 3.5 million. So total financing in 2025 was 9.3 million from this partner. And with that, I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you. I'll expand on some of the business programs as well as some of the home ownership or housing programs that we have available. This is the workforce development program that we have in partnership with Scott County, Southwest Metro Schools, DCTC, and Denver Hills. and the Shakopee Chamber of Commerce. We were fortunate to receive over $1 million in grant funding to provide free training to individuals in the fast-growing, higher wage jobs in Scott County. And so we have 25 business partners that are working with us. So as individuals are trained, they are looking at hiring or retaining. So with our 50 by 30 goal, having 50% of our workforce live and work in Scott County, this is one of the programs that we have available to assist us with that. And this grant is about to wrap up in the end of June, but with this grant, we had a goal of 135 individuals to be trained. We have over 170 that have actually gone through it and over 700 on our waiting list. And the courses that we've been able to provide are CNA and Med-Aid, boiler, pharmaceutical tech, a couple IT courses, and EMT, EMR. The chamber was fortunate to receive additional grant funding for this next cycle. So very soon we'll be kicking off some programming for 26-27. And we're expanding that programming to include items such as phlebotomy, welding, commercial driver's license, et cetera. So I have some flyers I can leave here, but watch for, it'll be on the Shakopee Chamber website. Those courses, again, free to Scott County individuals that want to maybe upskill or get new trades, and then again, work in some of our higher paying jobs here in Scott County. Another way that we work in partnership with our communities in planning is our market studies. Every 5 years, the CDA commissions a market study for commercial industrial needs, as well as a housing analysis. And this is used by the cities and the townships as part of the comprehensive planning. So Envision 2050 will be coming up. This market study is currently underway, and we are working with your planning consultant on this, as well as the other cities. And in the fall, you should have information on the analysis based on Met Council information, what they have identified as current trends and needs going out to 2050. Another program that is focused on providing places for our workers to live is the Local Affordable Housing Aid Fund, or LAHA. Our CDA office is administering funds for the county as well as for Savage and Shakopee. And so that is a sales tax fund that is utilized and can be used for new apartment buildings. In Shakopee, they're using a good portion for residential rehab, and then other housing programs that are identified. And then we also work in collaboration with Scott County, and I don't know if you're familiar with greatscottcounty.org, but it is a website that employers can post, or individuals that are looking for jobs can search for employment opportunities. You can also, as a community, post any of your community events, and individuals looking for things to do here can find those, as well as the learning opportunities for youth and adults. And then we have a quarterly e-newsletter you can sign up for, and social media posts as well. And then shifting gears to our home ownership programs, just 5 core areas that our home ownership team, part of our 7, focus on. The first is educational programming. So 5 times a year, we offer 8-hour course for first-time home buyers. Our next one is coming up May 19th and 20th. And then we have one in Spanish coming up in September, and our final one in November. And that provides individuals with education prior to purchasing a home. And then we have 3 HUD certified counselors that meet with first-time home buyers. If in need, we do provide the foreclosure counseling for individuals to try and help them stay in their home if possible. And then for individuals that have gone through our counseling and our education, we do offer first-time home buyer grants for individuals purchasing on the open market. And then finally, our newest program is about 6 years old. It's Community Land Trust. And with this program, our Community Land Trust retains ownership of the land and leases it back to the homeowner, which is an income qualified first-time home buyer, and they own the home. We have been very fortunate in receiving grant funds through Minnesota Housing, Met Council, and some energy efficiency grants. This program, we have currently 20 occupied homes, and with the grant funding available, should be able to expand that to 39 homes in the next couple years. And this includes homes that we acquire, rehab, and resell. We're working in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, and they're on their third set, so we'll have a total of 12 town units in Prior Lake. And then finally, new construction. We have 4 homes that we built in New Prague and 3 that are nearing completion, Shakopee, that will also expand over the next couple of years. That was a high-level overview of some of the programs of our Business and Community Development Department. Just want to make you aware and let individuals know that if they have questions on them or would like to take advantage of any of these, they can reach out to Michael or myself.
Perfect. Cool. Thank you, Joe and Michael. Council members, any questions, comments?
Nope.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you stopping out. All right, let's move into general business. General business 7.1 codification of municipal ordinances. Brooke, you're right. You got a couple things on the agenda
I
today.
do. How exciting.
Yeah.
Mayor and council members, staff is exploring a professional codification of the city's municipal ordinances. Codification would improve transparency, enhance operational efficiency, and help ensure legal consistency across the city's regulatory framework. Included in the packets are 2 quotes for professional codification services. Funding for this work was included in the 2025 budget, which allocated resources specifically for codification. As this is a specialized process requiring technical expertise, staff is seeking council review of the proposals and direction on how to proceed with codification.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Council members, questions, comments? Linda, you said it was in the 2025 budget. Did we
Yes.
carry that into 26 then?
No.
It's,
Sorry.
it's not budgeted in 2026, but the money is in the fund yet, so
Because we budgeted in 25.
Right.
Spend it.
Carry forward.
it carried forward. It's in there. We didn't do anything, and then we moved it out because we didn't know for sure what we were gonna do, because we were down a clerk at that point in time, and so we did put it in the CIP out years. Thought we could do a little bit at a time, but we don't have the expertise in-house to do it, so it's, the money is still there. It's all set aside for that.
So the 17.5 is the upfront capital cost to implement it, and then the 2,500 is an annual subscription fee to maintain the software. Is that accurate?
No, what that was 17.5 was budgeted in 2025. And then that got removed from the budget in 2026. It was my understanding that a clerk thought, or the previous clerk was going to do the codification herself, and the $2,500 per year was allocated, if I understand that right. Am I wrong? Sorry.
We had budgeted, as I said before, 17.5. And so when Amy left and we had an opening and we were working on the budget, we were doing CIP at that point. So we moved it out because we didn't know when we were going to do it. And then not in 26, but 27, 28, 29, and 30, I think we just divided that. And so we put in 2,500 a year. So this isn't an annual subscription amount. It was just, we kept a placeholder in the CIP for it, not knowing when, but the money is set aside and it is in there. We just didn't know at the time we were doing the budget. We kept it out of 26 and we just put placeholders in it because we didn't know how we were going to proceed.
So I have some questions about, so we're looking at 2 different vendors, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you're recommending which one?
I have worked personally with American Legal before.
Okay.
And they were very easy to work with. And I know that over 300 cities in the state of Minnesota work with them. My recommendation is American Legal. They also work closely with the League of Minnesota Cities.
I'm not familiar with it. I'm familiar with Civic Plus. I mean, I look at Prior Lake and Civic. Yeah,
Prior Lake is transitioning from Laserfish to Civics Plus currently.
right.
Yeah.
Do you have a cost? What's the difference in cost? Because I couldn't gather it. Do you have a breakout of if we took one or the other, what is it going to cost upfront capital and then annual expenditures?
In my proposals, American Legal, for codification of ordinances and zoning was $16,340. And that was with included in a 3-year supplemental plan. Online,
That's just for paper, a paper copy? No.
No,
Okay.
no, it would be both.
Okay.
It would be
Yeah.
both. And then the online service with zoning is $895 a year. And that with the annual hosting fee of $595.
That's with American Legal.
That's with American Legal. Yep,
So 895 and 595.
correct.
So 1,400, 1,500. Okay, so that'd be the annual cost. And what about the other one?
Civic Plus, the codification was $15,450. The supplementation on that was $2,500. And the online hosting is $1,375.
So they're more expensive?
Yes, Civic Plus, yes.
When Linda went over that with me, I looked too, I said, you have a 3-year supplemental plan. So for 3 years, that's included in that first quote, where it's not in the Civic Plus one. So that one's just a yearly one. You don't have like the first 3 years, they'll support you and it's included in your initial cost.
So it's the American, like, whatever it's called, American Legal. They're cheaper.
They were.
Okay.
What about running several years of modifications and amendments and, as things get put together and adjusted? How does that run in expense?
That's what those supplemental things are for, because whenever you have a change, then they go through and then they will put it in and then they'll give you the revised pages and make sure it's.
Okay, so American Legal has 3 years of that included into the setup, and I think that might be something that we might want to consider as important.
The other thing I think important is to get a feel for what how it displays on the web.
Right.
That's really where that might be worth it. If Civics Plus is better in that space,
Okay.
because that's, you might want to consider doing something different depending on how it formats out for a user that might want to see it, right? I'm not familiar with looking at any cities that have used the American Legal.
Nearby. Probably should have done that before the meeting to take a look at. I looked at Civics Plus. Because and it's pretty good.
Yeah, the Civics Plus one is
Right.
really nice. It's a lot nicer than legal Laserfish too.
Yeah.
So let's see, who else do they? Well, I mean, we can, if you wish to do a little more research on that part of it, we can table it if there's anything else you'd like from staff to do any other research on before you make a decision which way you'd like to go. You can do that as well. So New Prague looks like they use American Legal.
There was a lot of cities our size that were using American Legal for some reason when you look up in their, their list.
Right. Well, they do 300 cities.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I could see tabling this for another, so maybe the next meeting or 2 meetings out.
Is there anything that you'd like staff to do if you were to table it, or are you just thinking?
No, I think
you're
just
not
to-
ready to make a decision.
Just to
or-
look a little deeper into it. I didn't really get a chance to go through, the websites themselves and see how they each display. I did like American Legal's proposal, right, as far as what they're doing. I think they spelled it out a little bit better than the other one did, but that doesn't, the other one's in providing it.
Just one comment too, is that I've worked at various cities. A lot of the cities that are using Civic Plus also use Civic Plus for their website and their agenda management and everything. So it goes together. So that might be why some of those cities are using it, because they picked it. Because I know when my last city, when we got a new website, we upgraded Civic Plus, and when I was at Arden Hills, we did the same thing. So then we tended to use their platform because we were already using it for our agenda software and our minutes and our website. So that might play into it too.
Well, is staff here at all, unhappy with what we've got for website currently, or considering a change like that?
Not necessarily, but not necessarily a change.
Okay.
Cause that's a big change.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that would be,
Yeah.
that would be a reason to think about it, but, you know.
I'm okay with your recommendation, as long as it's user friendly and I can search words,
Yes.
you know, and,
That is. something that
and
I
it
believe so.
sounds like it's less costly. So
It
I,
looks pretty nice. I'm just looking at new price right now, right?
Right.
It goes really well.
does
Yeah.
it look like,
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, you have the same page. And it's got the search at the top.
so if you're gonna stick around for a while and
It's my plan.
Cause you said you've used this before and
Yeah.
you're familiar with it.
I'll go and mark it.
Is there a lot of work involved in transferring what we have and cleaning it all up?
I'm not sure. I came
there-
in after the fact, when I used it before.
They're
Uh,
experts so at
yeah,
doing all
they
that
have
and
attorneys,
merging
yeah.
things and deleting.
They
Okay.
have attorneys that look at it and send it back to us for review so that we can have our attorney and planners look at everything to make sure that it is.
And how much will it cost? Our fees for our staff to like work this project, so it's 16,000 for the vendor, and then it's another thing we budget for. We budgeted this for this year, or is it just like baked into them?
You put it budgeted in 2025, but we didn't do it. So the money is still sitting in that fund to
Oh,
be used.
right, I thought you were just talking about the vendor itself, not like Peter's time to.
Oh, no, I haven't done anything with Peter or the planners.
Oh, yeah.
Or be a planner
would
too.
The same,
Yeah,
pretty sizable chunk of their time.
right.
For anything that comes back.
Well, it's not just that, I mean, we have. There's a lot of stuff that we don't have for, zoning ordinances, et cetera, I think we could. Yeah, well,
That's not part of this project, though. This is just taking what we have.
this is what we
existing.
have, but
Right.
we also have to. We need to grow that and figure out. Figure out actually, put in place. Development and zoning ordinances, at least to cover. What's happening, what's gonna happen in the future, or may happen in the future. And, it'd be nice if we're going that route to think about getting that stuff set up on this as well.
So you have, they have a 3-year.
That's one of the reasons I asked that
Right,
question.
I think it brings you into then comp plan time and all that, which is, if you can update your ordinances anyways.
Mhm.
Looking through that project right now might not be the best of time. If you're gonna go through and walk through on comp plan and potentially change something anyways.
Mhm.
But getting it set up so that for future, you just slide it in and
That's the idea.
right, absolutely. I'd be good with American Legal and if their platform looks well, it's a good start, gets everything in one spot where we, residents can see it and review the ordinances there if they wish and research that.
And the benefit of doing all of this is what's the primary benefit of spending this money?
Just having it available for people to research, look at, to see and make it available.
I can do that today.
Not search
I can
and,
search word by word.
and just make sure that it's all legal.
Okay,
Part of the reason you do codification is because they go through and they codify your ordinances and then they look to make sure that you're to current law. I know when I was in New
Okay.
Germany, I had a lot of ordinances on the books that weren't even, that they weren't legal anymore. They weren't to current law. And so those attorneys, when they codify it, they look through that, and then they pull those questions out to make sure that you've got everything.
that makes sense. Yeah, I'm okay with, using this vendor too. It would be nice to know how much the whole project's gonna cost with the planner costs and the attorney fees, but I'd be okay with using this vendor.
I don't know how we'd figure that piece of it out because it really.
Have you done it
becomes-
before?
Your Honor, Councilmember Marker, the amount of work that would be required by my office fluctuates wildly depending on what they find. If everything's pretty clean and they organize it, I might have almost nothing to do. If they find inconsistencies and they're proposing things, I need to be involved in that. Right? So that really can fluctuate. I'm sorry, I can't give you a quote.
So with that. Just looking to see what our oldest ordinance was, and I can't believe that would be current.
By the way, this is a subdivision ordinance as well as a zoning ordinance, both of those.
It's 1958 one. Probably real current legal, right?
Probably has to do with dog licenses.
Just public and health nuisance,
There you go.
yeah. Health nuisance amusements. All right, well,
I'll make a motion to accept the staff's recommendation to use I'm gonna forget the American Legal
publishing.
Publishing for the vendor for the codification project.
I'll second it.
All right, got a motion by Market, second by Schomer, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Claire. Moving on to 7.2 RFP for Realtor Services for City Hall Lighting. Position, Mr. Jelinski.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So in front of you is the RFP that was drafted for the last council meeting. So we're looking for a licensed real estate broker or agent, licensed in the state of Minnesota to help us find property that is either on or off the market within the city of Credit River. Once a realtor is selected, we can meet as a council then to determine what the final property criteria would be that we're looking for. I've included some basic qualifications that I thought were important. We can, you guys can add or remove any of those that you think are important. That would be in section 4 and 5. And then the proposal requirements, you can look through those and add or delete as you see fit. Based on a cover letter, if you want to see anything more or less from a proposal standpoint, from a cover letter, if you want to see anything more or less from the firm or experience based on the agent and or their team. Compensation, I did leave that open as well if you'd like to see a commission or a flat fee or a hybrid structure with that. References and then a conflict of interest. Wanted to make sure that was in there if there's any type of relationship to you guys or to staff, and then if there's any type of relationship as far as interest in property to the seller or the buyer, and then evaluation criteria for weight as far as what you're looking for. If you'd like to leave that or take that out, again, up to you. And then tentative schedule would be issued tomorrow if approved. And then any questions that realtors, brokers might have in a couple weeks from now. Proposals due at the end of the month. If you'd like to do interviews ahead of any type of selection, had that for the week of June 8th, and then selection for the second council meeting in June. And then we would meet with the selected broker after that, and then go from there. So I am happy to take any questions or comments.
Perfect, thank you, Steve. Council, questions or comments? No.
I do.
Bill?
First of all, under desired property criteria located within Credit River city limits, I propose that we modify that and we say where municipal sewer and water may eventually go to, which right now is in our comp plan is, you know, where the line is. That'd be one recommendation. As far as the compensation, so we're gonna be able to negotiate all that with them. I did some research on what's important. So flat fees, hourly rates, capped commissions are better than a percent of purchase price. So do we want to say we're not interested in certain ones, or do we just say we don't want to waste their time if they're only going to do it? I don't know.
Or is it, Bill, do you leave the options on the table, let them come up with what's the best? You give your best compensation in your proposal. That way,
Right.
that way, if you might get somebody that's gonna lowball or, you know, want the business, it might intrigue you to have a different type of compensation rather than fix it and make that decision for them.
Okay. I
And
was
that's
just
my
thinking
thought
if we're
on
not
it.
interested in one or the other, we just say we're not interested in this. So don't put it in your presentation because we wouldn't want to get all three to having the same thing. But I hear what you're saying, so I just wanted to bring that up. There's a term, is there a term and a termination date for this? Would we want to say, what is it? That wasn't, I didn't see that in there. Confidentiality. I suppose that would be part of the contract we have with them, but how do they treat that? I see how the conflict of interest was good. And then and then the last point I had was, the evaluation criteria. I would weight it slightly different. I think the compensation is 10%. That's too low. I'd move 25% from, the public sector relevant experience and put it down into compensation. I'm not quite sure what the public sector relevance experience is versus regular commercial land. I don't think that's that big of that shouldn't be 30% in my opinion.
I think actually more local market knowledge is more important than public sector relevancy. It's
Right. So I'm really interested in compensation, so I would bring that up to like 1/3 or 35%. And that would then, we'd have 5% public sector relevance. And if you want, remove that and just put it into the Scott County local market knowledge. I don't have a problem with that. Those are my suggestions.
So. Other feedback on, you know, one of Bill's on the evaluation criteria, so I do agree that the public sector relevancy is probably not. I would be okay with removing that one all together from that one. And I'd like to split it between the local market knowledge and compensation. So I think, again, both of those should be a pretty big part of the evaluation. They're gonna be anyways, right? I mean, when you look at it, you're just gonna look at the compensation and say, yeah or no, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, I think the proposed approach might be important also.
I agree.
So maybe taking public sector and Scott County local market knowledge, experience, and combining those two and maybe assigning it on 35 or 40% or 35%.
Yep.
But I wouldn't eliminate one or the other. I think I would just add another slash at the end of relevant experience, so that basically you have 3 different things in one category.
Okay, so 35% if you combine those, and then 35% proposed approach,
Maybe
or 30?
yeah, 30. proposed approach is probably kind of important. I'm not. I think that then you can raise, what's that leave us? I wasn't told that, but you could raise that and throw the rest of that back into compensation.
20, so Brad then puts it at 20, is that right? So 60. 30. Again, so as you said, so the Scott County local market knowledge and public sector was at 35.
Yep. Proposed approach 30, so now you're at 65.
Can we do 25% for comp? I don't know,
Yeah, I mean, the qualifications and the references, I mean, they're gonna give us a list.
right,
You know, so,
right,
I
right.
mean, that's,
Just put that, that's the remainder then.
Yeah.
For those.
Yep. Did you capture that, Steve?
Yep.
Do we go through them one more time then? So the first two combined are 35, right?
Yep,
Proposed approach is 30,
yep.
and then comp is 25. And then the rest is, so that'd be, gosh, I'm tired, 60, 90, 10% would be the, references and qualifications.
so 5 each.
Yeah, 5 each.
Yep, I mean, I think you want to list them.
Yeah,
so that they
I
give us the list.
Yep.
And I'd like to go back up to your first comment on whether it be Seward only.
Yeah.
Please explain why you would think that way.
Because why wouldn't you want municipal sewer and water for a public building as opposed to having to buy extra land just to have a sewer on there?
Well, the
Or I
land,
meant, I'm sorry, a septic system on there.
the land would cost less, most likely. So I mean, I think those would work out. I mean, it might be more important to, as far as placement within the community, where it fits best. I'd hate to eliminate that just automatically without really looking at it. And then, you know, the other side of it, we have, I think people should understand that because we're looking for land and acquiring it, doesn't mean that we're ready to just start building the next day. This is just, we're acquiring something for the future, so if you're saying that anything that's within the Muse area, you know, some of that might not be developed to the sewer end, you know, for 40 or 50 years, so.
But eventually it would be,
But
and
eventually it
eventually
would
we'd
be.
have to connect it. And the second reason is 3 years ago, we were talking about not just the city government center, but a public works department building too, which would be close by. And I really don't think you'd want that on a septic system either. So, or a well, so those were the reasons why I'd say we should put it up there. I really don't give a lot of, maybe other people do, but I don't see the advantage of like having to drive an extra 5 minutes to go to the Northern Credit River versus having it myself. I don't see that it would be a big deal, because how many people actually drive to go here,
Yeah. not
So-
much. Election time.
except for the fine folks out here. So those were my reasons.
Okay.
That's probably something that I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to be in the agreement or the proposal. That's something we can work out when we're talking with them on as far as priorities, as far as, you know, what options and things there are.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I don't think we should be
I mean, it's-
limiting
it's
this.
high
We should
level.
not limit this right out.
An RFP is a little more high level.
Yeah.
You know, to get the process started.
That's not
I'm
gonna make
fine
a
with you,
difference in how we determine who's gonna do it.
Okay, any other thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I have a problem with that, but. Guess we can leave it as is, we're not deciding where the land is gonna be tonight. What about the term and termination though, like, are you gonna ask for like, how long is their contract? What are they proposing? Like, are they don't wanna, we need to know that, don't we? Like, if they only wanna work for a year?
For a year, yeah.
Have them
So-
put a termination date.
Yeah, just have them quote what they want, what the clear start and end date, and then what constitutes an end date. We sign and we pay the cash, or they just find it and they're gone. And then we don't want it to just fall through. So there has to be on there, has to be considered.
Yep, that would be good.
And then the last thing, confidentiality, and I don't know, just have them address confidentiality. How do they address? So they're not, they keep the city's intentions confidential. They don't talk. You know, they keep, I guess that's what I'm saying.
Somehow I knew Peter was gonna say something on this.
Oh, we can't do that?
Mayor and council, outside of the actual negotiating strategy, trading of offers, things like that, there's not a whole lot that the city can do in a confidential posture relating to real estate acquisition.
Okay.
And one other question, maybe for the attorney. In the, let's see. Conflict of interest. Relationships with elected officials or staff. Should it be more defined? Or is that too broad?
Since this is an RFP, what we want them to do is just identify who we might be interested in digging deeper about.
Okay.
Okay. With that, if there's no other changes, if anybody's ready to motion this.
I'll make a motion that we accept this with the changes that we made to the evaluation criteria weight.
And you okay with the end terms?
Yes, and adding that.
Okay.
Did I miss anything?
Yeah, the thing that I was concerned about.
Okay. I'll second it. Right, we got a motion and a second to approve the RFP for Realtor Services for City Hall land acquisition. With a few changes that we all agreed on. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. All right, so let's move on to 7.3 mining ordinance amendment. Time Stickler, I see you are remote tonight.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you all hear me?
And thank you.
Okay, great. Yes, so for your consideration this evening, we have the ordinance 2026-4 that amends section 10 of the city zoning ordinance regarding mining, as well as resolution 2026-14 that would approve a summary publication for ordinance 2026-04 due to its lengthy nature. Staff is recommending this as a repeal and replace due to the significant changes of certain portions of the ordinance. So we would just, the language that remains the same would post back the same, but the new language that we are recommending this evening, which was in associated staff reports underlined and bolded for your convenience, would then be the new language moving forward if this ordinance were adopted this evening. We have considered this at the workshop at the end of April, as well as the initial amendments received a unanimous approval from the Planning Commission at their April regular meeting. Since our last discussion on this ordinance item, staff significantly amended the reclamation requirements, making sure that mining sites are restored in a timely and usable manner, requiring a detailed reclamation plan that addresses grading and slopes and revegetation, and then what that long-term land use would look like. And then we also included much more stringent financial assurance requirements from the feedback of our workshop in April, as well as expanding on enforcement provisions. So those are new sections that are included in the ordinance. And then we did add some provisions based on groundwater protection and that discussion within some of the new ones that we had already written and discussed last. We just added that as another section within a subsection within that section of the ordinance. But otherwise, the language is the same as from your workshop, other than those kind of 3 specific areas. So I'd be happy to answer any questions on those.
Great, thank you, Planner Strickler. Council members, questions or comments on this?
I have one. Has to do with, if you go to the amendments, that we have under 10.6, 10.6B1 dust control plan, it's on page 106. I would like to comment first that, after reviewing all of this, I think you guys did a really, really nice job with this. The changes look like they encompass a lot and seem to cover all of the comments that I remember having made earlier and a few others had made. But I would like to point out in the dust control plan, I'm a little concerned about one thing, which would be monitoring for or having something in the dust control plan or mention of monitoring levels of airborne silica. Since the mining operation is that this thing is going to be probably covering in anywhere else in Credit River, is going to be gravel processing, crushing, etc. Silica is a byproduct of those operations. And it's also, OSHA has considerable language in their codes as far as airborne silica monitoring and everything else. Now, I'm not worried about the mining operation itself conforming to their labor department requirements, but the public is also going to be, neighbors, et cetera, are going to be possibly in dust and everything else exposed to airborne silica. So I think that we should, it's not to say they shouldn't be doing it. There are certain levels that are acceptable. I think we should really be thinking about making sure that we have some mention of that in here, and in case it needs to be included or not.
Okay, not sure how we would do that. I'd look to.
Are those part of the statutes though?
Well, it would cover OSHA for the employees.
Yeah,
But MP, what is it called?
The
Minnesota MPCA?
Yeah. Well,
Do they,
it may be.
so their permit requires them to monitor? It's on their website.
Yeah, it could be as simple as actually just mentioning
referencing it.
that it should conform to MPCA requirements.
Yeah.
I'm not saying write a whole section on it.
Right.
I'm just saying, let's make sure that that's not omitted from this.
Jay, scroll down to that same section, down to point 10. Particularly performance and monitoring, visible emissions from crushing, screening. On-site unpaved roads shall not exceed 10% of ASC for more than 6 minutes in any hour. So measured by EPA method 9 or equivalent.
On site, about off, about airborne moving. I mean, it's a good place for, it's covering part of it, but
Steph, any thoughts on something there? Claire, Shane, you see anything in other mining permits you've been a part of that might fit for something like that?
Mr. Mayor and Council, I do have experience in mining permits in other cities. Generally, there has not been a airborne monitoring requirement that I'm aware of. There's always noise requirements. Maybe not continuous monitoring of noise. It's more of a complaint basis. Hey, what you're doing was really loud. We're gonna go out there and monitor the noise now.
and I think what's in here right now for that is quite sufficient.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Pete.
I think a way that we could handle that would be to add another section in the permit requirements that the permit's going to require them to comply with all applicable laws. was just scanning to see if we had that catch-all in here or not. That would cover that and many other things, as well as keep the city out of the business of providing regulations we don't have the resources to police ourselves.
Yeah, I
Does
agree with
satisfy
that.
that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Perfect. You said that would be in the permit section, correct? Permit requirements,
Permit requirements.
10-6.
Within 10-6, yeah, if you want language, because you're planning to adopt tonight, I'll work on that while you continue your conversation. Let me know if you need me.
Yeah. And then I would just say that, 12, the groundwater monitoring, I think that was well written.
Mhm. Yep.
I'm also happy with, basically talking about not importing materials to be processed, because I think that kind of covers added value products that would have to be at least covered by a different type of permit or action.
Perfect.
Okay, that's it. I'd recommend we pass it with those changes.
You want me to work on the changes? Do you know what he's changed? Bill, Jim, anything?
I have nothing.
Leroy, anything?
No. Do you want to table it?
I'm just watching the pen work, see if he's.
Do you want to table it until he's done with it? Come back to it?
Your Honor, Counsel, I believe I can give you the language now.
All right.
Linda's ready to.
That was very fast.
Well, it'll be recorded so we can do playback.
I would add to section 10-6, parents capital A new subsection, parents 6. Permit shall require compliance with all applicable laws.
There you go.
Simple. Okay. Somebody have a motion to approve it then?
So moved.
And so, with Jay, you're gonna do both of them at once, we're gonna tackle both these at separate times.
I'll do both at once.
So you are gonna.
Yeah, just separate.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, there's a deliberate reason to separate the summary.
That's fine.
All right, so you're gonna
A.
I'll second
All right.
Jay's motion.
So motion by Seidenbach, second by Marker to approve ordinance 2026-4, amending section 10 of the city zoning ordinance regarding mining with the one change to section 10-6 requiring compliance with all applicable laws. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Then we're looking for a motion to pass B, which is resolution 2026-14. Summary publication for the ordinance 2026-04.
All right, so moved.
Sounds good. I got a motion. Anybody second?
I'll second.
I'll take Leroy on that one. So a motion by Seidenbach, second by Schomer. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you very much. Moving on to 7.4, planner stickler.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So similar setup as your last agenda item, we have a ordinance 2023 or 2026-03, amending section 30-3 of the city ordinance related to the Urban Expansion Reserve District, and a resolution 2026-15 for summary publication of said ordinance due to the extended length of the ordinance and the fees that are associated with publishing it in its entirety. So background on this amendment, as you all know, the Urban Expansion Reserve District is intended to preserve large tracts of land for long-term urban development while maintaining low-density rural areas until the time that public infrastructure is extended to those areas. Under current zoning regulations, housing units are limited to 1 per 40 acres. And this, is to assist for making sure that the land development isn't fragmented prior to those urban services. However, this can create challenges for property owners of large parcels, larger than 40 in this instance, that wish to establish a single rural home site for existing residential units. With this, the city staff has proposed this amendment to allow for a one-time exception that would create one single lot that would be 1 acre minimum, and the remainder parcel would be at least 40 acres. This amendment also requires that the newly created parcel is suitable for on-site septic, primary and alternative, and making sure that development remains consistent with those rural service levels. We have provisions for the remaining parcel that it would not be, it would either have to go into an outlot or some sort of holding pattern to ensure that it's not going to be further subdivided until those logical extension of those utilities is there. And of course, the subdivision would have to comply with all existing subdivision regulations within the city code. The Planning Commission did hold a public hearing for this at their April meeting, and there were no comments from the public, and the Planning Commission recommended this approval 4-0. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Claire. Council members, questions, comments? Okay,
I have a comment. This is gonna take a second, 'cause I have a statement to make. Am I recognized? Yep. In September of 2024, I brought forward a proposal to align our zoning with the Metropolitan Council's diversified rural designation, shifting from 1 unit per 40 acres to potentially 4 units per 40 acres. Before that proposal could ever reach a public hearing, the mayor and 2 council members required extensive studies, cost analyses, agency input, and property owner surveys. Those requirements exceeded $21,000. The proposal was ultimately shelved, in my opinion, due to the scope and cost imposed by the majority. So fast forward to today, we're considering a proposal to amend the UER designation to allow a property owner to subdivide their lot after a variance request for that same action was recently denied in February. Staff is recommending approval without the same level of studies, surveys, agency input previously required. That inconsistency alone gives me a lot of pause. But there are also other several substantive concerns I have. First, comprehensive plan consistency. The plan today defines UER as 1 unit per 40 acres, and this proposal effectively alters that standard, and the staff report doesn't address Met Council review and approval. Second, a reasonable alternative exists for property owners today. The property owners can subdivide without changing the ordinance by simply adding enough acres to be able to subdivide. Despite statements made to the contrary at the February Planning Commission meeting, the one property owner that came and had their variance denied, it was mentioned that that's a viable option, even though that property owner did not want to take that. Third, lot size inconsistency. The proposed homestead parcel that I'm aware of is only 0.89 acres, yet in Credit River, new homes with septic systems must be on at least 2.5 acres. Approving a new smaller lot with septic raises fairness concerns for every resident who has to meet the 2.5 acre standard. Fourth, land use inconsistency. The resulting parcel would function like low-density residential, yet our comp plan only supports that designation where municipal sewer and water are available, which they're not here. But my biggest concern is public policy. Changing zoning ordinances to accommodate a single property owner, especially after a variance denial, a recent variance denial, creates the appearance of impropriety and sets a troubling precedent. Variances are meant to address true hardship, not to be bypassed by rewriting the rules. How many other requests are we going to get to alter our ordinances by adding exceptions? If we approve this one, don't we set ourselves up for having to approve all of them, thus having a zoning ordinance littered with a bunch of exceptions? So in summary, if the council is open to increasing density in the northern part of Credit River, then let's make the change I proposed 18 months ago, which was supported by many residents that live up there. And that was changing the UER designation to diversified rural, and the zoning change would be 4 and 40. And that's what I'd have to say. So I'm going to make a motion that we deny staff's recommendation in ordinance 2026-03.
okay. Council, motion on the table. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And
Oh,
anybody
I'm
opposed?
sorry. Aye. I'm gonna.
Opposed? I'll say nay. Nay. Motion fails to gain a majority. Any further discussion?
Is anyone interested in doing the diversified rural route?
No.
No. The individual property owner, it might help that person that I'm aware of, rather than having to subdivide to 40 acres, you could subdivide to 10. And it wouldn't be so large of a lot, but. Okay.
Any thoughts?
One of the reasons that I'm kind of siding with Mr. Markert is actually its size of the lot, the consistency of it. I mean, there's a few things with that there's enough things that he brought up that caused me to think that would be right. I'm still not good with with going the other route of making these things smaller, because just it invites a different kind of, for one, going from large lots, if there is development, it makes a higher bar for the development in the first place. It also, with going to a 10-acre lot, it brings in a different type of development that can also play in that field. And I would rather stay away from that type going forward in the future. Once you have sewer, they can be changed, the sizes of these properties, if that's the case. But until that point, there's thoughts, there's a thought process that it kind of divides it up and makes them not as attractive. But my fear is that it actually makes it more attractive to the wrong type of development.
So this is a completely different item. This,
I get that.
this one addresses a legacy home that's been in Craig River since 1904. It doesn't add any more development. It actually makes it harder to do any other development. Because as staff noted, that the remaining parcel would be in an outlot and not allowed to subdivide, which that one would be big enough, it could subdivide.
I did see that. How many? So the question is, in 0.89 acres, how many drain field locations do we have in it for future drain fields?
I don't know.
Is the property big enough? Is subdividing it to 0.89 acres big enough to give the legacy property a legacy lifetime? If there's no sewer? Or do we create, or are we creating a need to have sewer at some point in the future? Just like we've done with all of these other properties in the past.
Any more than the 500 that already exist.
Right. And so that's what my point is, do we?
But this isn't an area that will eventually have service.
Me. That's,
It's planned for it.
yeah.
Your Honor. May I make two observations?
Yep.
Maybe three.
Perfect.
First, as to the diversified rural versus UER, what's drafted is intended, I think, to be neutral as to that. That conversation is unaffected by this.
Correct.
Nothing's
Correct.
Second, it may be a little bit difficult sometimes to recognize when we can engage with staff when they're not in the room, but you've asked some questions about how, to use the vernacular, fully cooked the study was, like around the size of the lot and stuff. I would suggest talking to the planner to see if that's already been evaluated or whether that is something that's worth further study. And then the third observation, which I'm sure is obvious to everyone in the room, is the way this is shaping up. It might make a lot of sense for the next motion to be one to continue this when you have 5 council members present, so that you can get something that doesn't fail 2-2. Thank you.
Okay. All good points.
Blair, do you have any indication as to the subject property when it comes to wastewater treatment?
I do not, but that's certainly something, if this were to be tabled, that staff could figure out.
Okay,
Your Honor, if I may clarify, I was not speaking about a specific property. And I do think there would be a concern if this ordinance was designed for a specific property. The concept in my head, if I may.
The ordinance address.
Well, it's that I have, let's say hypothetically, I have an old home, it's worth $400,000 or $500,000, but it's attached to 100 acres, it's attached to 50 acres. The only people who can buy my home are people who can buy all of that. And if I can sever my house off of what's left so that that's available, the big lot's available to be reserved for future development, whether it's 4 per 40 or 1 per 40, whatever that is. But I can still transact my home. That provides the opportunity to eliminate it like an unintended consequence of the UER, where now I have a house, but my only buyers are developers. And if it only applied to one person, I would also be recommending from a legal perspective that council not consider this. It's my understanding that this is something that would apply potentially to more than one property owner. Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah, thank you. And that's right. I mean, I think it's easy to think about the one that applied for a variance that it was never denied because it never made it to the council. It was recommended for denial by the planning.
We
commission.
denied it.
No,
didn't
it
we?
never made it to the council. That never came to council.
Okay,
That applicant requested a pause, correct?
Yeah, planning commission denied it,
Planning commission recommended denial,
recommended denial.
correct, but it never came to council for a denial.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just, would want to reiterate that I think too, the difference of current open buildable lot when we're, looking for 2.5 acre and we require a percentage of soils and things like that in terms of building suitability and septic suitability is a little different when it comes to some existing homes. And I would be happy to reach out to Scott County Environmental and confirm that if that's something that the council would like answers on.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to table this item and ask
I'm not-
staff to reach out to Scott County Environmental to clarify that part about the wastewater.
I have a couple questions for staff.
Can we see if I get a motion? I'll second it. Okay, discussion.
Claire?
Mhm.
Isn't this a request coming from one property owner that had a variance request denied?
No,
You weren't
Mr.
look-
Mark.
Go ahead.
No, this is something that from that request that staff has realized there is a larger issue within this ordinance, particularly with a lot of legacy properties. There are a few within the city that have more than 40 acres with existing homesteads attached to those more currently used agriculture lots.
Why wouldn't everyone subdivide their property? They're gonna make more money when it comes to development. They can hold out forever and ask for more money. So, did you have any other requests to do this? Like,
We have historically, the city and the planning department, even before my time as the planner, has received questions and requests about subdivision within the UER.
subdivisions for 1 acre, this exception, we've had requests from multiple property owners for this exception, 1 acre.
Not this particular one. This is just how staff has interpreted those general requests over historical years. Like I said, before I have been the planner here, 1 acre was what we had determined through trying to take a look at a lot of the properties within the UER that are currently, in a neighborhood type setting that aren't larger lots, because those do exist, of doing a quick review of what those lot sizes are, what then also at the time when water and sewer does become available doesn't impede a future land use pattern. If you go too large, that can make it difficult down the road to try and further subdivide even more, which is what I think we're trying to avoid with this amendment in particular.
What drove you though to is it a coincidence then that a variance request was denied in February and then this is in front of us in early May it looks like it's a workaround. It's like we're changing the rules because the variance request was denied by the planning commission. That's the way it looks.
That's not staff's intent with this ordinance amendment. Like I said, we know that there is a larger issue within the UER. We know that there's limitations to what we can do with that based on the comprehensive plan and the Met Council's rules, with it specifically referring to existing dwelling units and ensuring that we aren't creating any parcels that are less than 40 acres, other than if they have the existing homestead and meet these exceptions. That's where we developed this language that's in front of you this evening.
Mr. Mayor, I believe I can address Councilmember Margaret's question. There's no doubt in my mind that the recommendation to deny the variance was a catalyst for looking at this subject.
Right.
It's not uncommon for the city to be faced with an application for something that seems fair, and for whatever reason we can't do it, and that causes us to re-examine what's the animating purpose for that rule, and are there more precise ways we can accomplish it and do less harm. I am aware of one suggestion from staff of a way to do it. I don't want to get into confidential conversations, but it was my initiative, Councilmember Markert, to take a look at this is this a problem that we can solve where we are meeting the goals of the UER without doing unnecessary harm, and does it apply to more than one person? I'm also mindful of the conversation that council had a meeting or 2 meetings ago about how a council initiated text amendment happens. And I'm happy to fall on my sword for having gotten out ahead of you. I didn't intend to cause any offense by that, but this is an attempt to identify an issue that maybe we can do better on, that will help hopefully more than one person, if it's a policy that the council's interested in.
Don't we get into trouble though with exceptions to a land use designation? How do we know we're not going to get exceptions now in a different zone where, well, I want to do this and it doesn't allow me to, so change it. You just change them out there. Why can't we change it down here?
Right. There's always a concern about precedent setting. And that's why when we have, I'll say this catalytic event where we're going to examine, is there a better way to do it? That we stay focused on, is there a better way to do it? And there are solid policy grounds to make that change that are not simply reflexive or reactive. We didn't like that outcome, and so we're going to do something about it. Rather, that outcome caused us to look and see that there is a better way. The only meaningful distinction that protects us against the Me Too's in the future is that you have a really good reason for what you're doing now. And if you don't feel like there's a good reason for what you're doing now, then you say no.
How many parcels are applicable to this exception?
My assumption at this time is about 4 to 5.
We don't know. Or
I do not.
and Peter, what about the comp plan? And we defined, I looked in our comp plan and it defines it. It doesn't say there's exceptions to it. There's nothing. So does that have to be changed if this is approved?
Your Honor, Councilmember Market, I agree that if the council approves this, it will be subject to a comp plan amendment.
Okay. And when we did the 10 and 40 discussion, all of these other requirements were asked for by the majority of the council. We don't believe that that's the case for this. That's just not right. That's all I have.
All right, so I've got a motion, a second to table this item to future council meeting. We'll take that vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Yes, nay.
Motion passes 3-1.
Does that mean the first motion, Peter, is now off the table? Or the first vote?
The motion that you made, that was a 2-2 vote?
Yeah,
Was
right.
that right?
Right now it's denied, right?
That was concluded with a denial.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's still denied. And
Yes,
this one is just tabling a future discussion.
that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Of information though. Can we continue to make sure that we get staff input on sewerability, et cetera, of the size of the parcel, which
That
they
was
should
your
be,
motion.
which they're bringing to us? Okay, that's fine.
7.5, consider revised joint powers agreement for Judicial Road, Engineer Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You had previously considered a updated JPA for Judicial Road. That JPA only included the section from County Road 68 to County Road 21, in which we have a project plan this year for. That JPA, that version of that, never was presented to the Lakeville City Council because staff still had some changes. So we received it from one staff member. There's another staff member that had some changes that weren't incorporated. So this new JPA that's presented tonight also includes the segment of Judicial Road that's north of County Road 21. It's roughly a quarter or a third of a mile on the north side of 21, and this would also include a project in 2027 in which the city of Credit River would have a cost share. So the estimated cost of that project is $230,000. It'll be a 50-50 cost share. Therefore, the city of Credit River would have a $115,000 cost share based on Lakeville's estimates.
Okay. Thank you, Shane. Council, questions or comments?
No?
Yes, I do.
Margaret?
So going south on judicial, that was funded by a grant, correct? So, because there's nothing in our CIP for that going south.
So one
Correct.
south would be eligible for municipal state aid funding.
Yeah. So is that why we don't have any like expenditures for that in the CIP for the budget? It's actually for 2027.
Correct. It would be, yeah, it's a different funding source.
Yeah.
The segment to the north would not be eligible for
Right.
municipal state aid funding because you either have to be like county road to county road.
Yep.
Or make a connection to another MSA road.
So when I looked at the map, how many homes do we have in Credit River that actually, in the north, that actually has a driveway to get to the road? Any?
I drove it today. I saw two. There's
So,
one really close to 185th and
so can we ask for a prorated, can we ask for a prorated cost share? Because if we have two and they have that whole subdivision across the street, which looked like there was 20 or 25 homes versus a 50% cost share. And,
yeah,
well, we have two homes though that use that road, right? All the other homes
Yeah.
are in Lakeville.
Councilor Markert, I actually had some of these same thoughts initially when this came up, and one thing that I did is I looked at the southern segment where it's kind of the inverse situation.
But
We have
that's being paid-
195th Street, we have Rolling Oaks Drive, Towering Oaks Curve. We have a lot more density on that section. They have a few houses.
Yeah.
But that's being paid for by the aid, right?
Well, our part is. Right.
What about, their part's not?
They're using theirs somewhere else.
It's expensive, 65,000 or 60,000 for two houses is what or 60 per house.
Right, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a border road. And generally how border roads are handled are 50-50 by
Are they?
each jurisdiction, so.
This will be next year, so we budget for next year then.
That would be correct.
Yeah. Part of this year's
Yeah,
budget.
and I drove it today and it is in pretty tough shape.
Yeah. All right, it's been touched. 30 years. 30 years, yeah.
Oh, sounds like country court.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion.
Your motion is,
To accept this joint powers agreement as is,
okay,
and that would be it. And then also budget the 115,000 for next year.
I'll second that. Yep. Motion by Sandebach, second by Schomer to approve the joint powers agreement for judicial road. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 7.6. Discussion of action items from municipal water and sewer, and I believe this is a council member Market.
Right, so at the oh, I gotta get there. At the April 6th meeting, I committed to sending the council a list of actions we need to consider pursuing. And I didn't get any response back from anybody. Well, I want to start talking about these things. In my opinion, these things need to be done now before we start digging a hole underneath County Road 44. The biggest thing being, we still don't know like how much it's going to cost each property owner. And I would think that before we dig a hole, we want to know how much that is so we can tell them. And I know that Shane has done studies over the last year and a half. You know, we told the state that, you know, the cost for country court would be 12.8, and then that includes the trunk, that you did another analysis that did the trunking for all of the west side. But I assume that a piece of that was in your April of 2024 numbers. But let's talk about that first. When we have to do that before we go out? Right now, we have no clue on how we're going to fund this. We have some ideas on some costs. The one thing you haven't done yet is the water main or the water trunking. So I assume that's part of the country court analysis from last year as an estimate. I think it's probably in there, but can we please do that? I'd really like to share. I have my own estimates, but I'd really like to know what it's going to cost the residents, not only of Country Court, but all of City of Credit River, because there's more costs than just the construction. There's also the infrastructure costs that are going to be borne by possibly the whole city, additional staff, land purchases, buildings constructed. We don't have any plan at all. And we're talking about spending a lot of money. I started to take a look at the what's available in Scott County GIS in terms of like the septic systems that are there, because it does show the age. It shows when the latest system was installed. 20% of them are, you know, have been installed in the last 10 or so years. But it shows you the average market, or it shows you the 2027 market value. So we need to do an appraisal on the incremental increase to that market value to determine how much we can even assess those houses. And then if we can assess all those houses, then what do? We haven't talked about that yet either. So we could spend all night talking about all these things, but when are we going to start talking about them?
I think we have been. I mean, we've had workshops on it. We've been working on funding sources. Yeah, some neighborhood meetings. Yeah, to get input. I mean, it's clear nothing can happen until there's some sort of subsidy, you know, state or federal wise, to do something like this. So to get to the cost per house is gonna be pretty tough till you figure out what that means.
But you can assume, you can do scenarios. And right now the scenario is there is no state funding. So there's none. That's probably a pretty safe bet for this year, if not every year.
I'd say that there's, you know, these types of projects get funded all the time.
You can do a scenario of zero funding. You can do a scenario of 10% funding, 25% funding, whatever you want. But don't we owe it to the residents to tell them how much this is going to cost, as opposed to, so they have an idea, because we don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. They are responsible for their septic systems. Scott County monitors those. The homeowner's responsible for it. If we give them a number, then they can make an intelligent decision on, oh geez, I could do better by, let me talk to Scott County and see if there's an alternative for my septic system that might be old. But we're not giving them any of that information to make an intelligent decision. And I think we have to do that. And sure, there's going to be assumptions. So you make scenarios, 0% funding, 25% funding, whatever. I've never spent money before, a big chunk of money, and not have a plan and not know what it's gonna do to the city. You know, if we put in sewer and water in those 99 homes, well, we don't even have a plan for how many people we need then to monitor utility billing, monitor utility repair and maintenance. None of that stuff has been talked about. And I'm just saying, well, let's talk about all those things and let's get some numbers crunched so we know what we're getting ourselves into before right now, the 2027 CIP budget has us digging a hole underneath County Road 44 for both the water main and the sewer pipe. And we have all 443 units or residential units being installed with sewer and water by in 2030 in our comp plan. So solve this tonight, but I sure hope we can start crunching the numbers and we can give people some information that they can make a decision on whether they want the city to pursue with this or whether we can figure out a different way. And if we have to do some road work, then we do that to help that out in the interim. But that was the point of putting this together. I tried to brainstorm all the things that we've talked about some of this, Chris, but we haven't like put anything together. There's no plan.
Okay. I actually like what you did last time, you know, when you brought that forward. Because I think it's good to put it on paper. I think what you've done here, I like seeing it on paper, but I would just point out that this is a good start. But in this thing, there's a discussion that's completely omitted from what you've got, which is probably equal to 40 or 50% of what we need to talk about, which is the roads and streets. And none of it's mentioned here, but there's a lot of the questions and everything else, everything on here probably needs to be answered. And I think part of our approach so far is it's not that it isn't being done. We've identified a need. We've basically figured out how to do it. But in my recollection, everything that's gone along with this is that there have been a couple more parts to the whole thing, which is figuring out the things that are on this list, definitely. And figuring out where money is going to come from if it can, and how it gets paid for. So these are all processes. I myself see 2030. I see a lot of the numbers, dates and everything else in this as being premature. I think we need to do a lot more to get onto that schedule. I've always looked at it as it probably takes longer than that. Certainly not going to be done in 2027. That said, the thing that we also need to really consider is that the streets and storm sewer infrastructure and capital improvement for all of these different neighborhoods is by and far the greatest cost of all of this. It actually is more than it's more than half. So, that's why I'm saying is I think that our discussion should be also include that. And the thing that should include is life expectancy of what we've got, which is probably going to give us more of a timeline. We've spent several $100,000 over the last 3 years with emergency patches in a couple of these neighborhoods. And that they might look good, but the engineer told us when we did it that we were looking at a 5 to 7 year band-aid. So, that looks at 2030. Being more than half the life expectancy of what we've got left on a couple of the streets. And I think just even the timeline, Country Court is one, but then you have West Side and you have Casey, which would be natural progressions to that. You know, the reality is, I think our timeline should better define the actual timeline of the projects to get there, how long it gets there. Then we need to look at the streets and see what else we're gonna have to do in order to get them to stay in condition long enough to get to the rebuild part. Because in my mind, spending $5 million, in one neighborhood for 99 homes, which is something that we would have to do in a reconstruct. Remember that Credit River has not really put any money into the streets in Country Court, with the exception of the 2 Band-Aid years that we did. For 40 some years, for the entire life expectancy of the streets that we had, and the streets that were put in there were never designed to the standards that we have today. I mean, those were 2.5 ton roads at best. It was essentially
Paved the horse path.
paved the horse path, put 2 lifts on it, and we put in a giant residential driveway. And it's amazing that they've hung together for as long as they have, without the seal coating and the crack filling and everything else. None of that has been done for years, decades. So, the whole thought of this process is, I know there was some things there were proposals I've heard that we wouldn't do anything until 2040, which is what our comp plan says. But I can, we can ask the engineer if he thinks that the streets in Casey or Country Court are gonna make 2040. And what's the alternative? Do we wind up as we talked with years ago over a neighborhood that didn't want to do an overlay or reconstruct on their street, that we just have to let it go? Then at some point, when it's starting to fall apart with the plow coming through, we need to actually just remove the asphalt to go back to gravel. Well, I mean, if that's the case, but that all ought to be in this discussion, so we can figure out, what it is, because it's just not about what can somebody afford, or how, who's going to pay for it, or whether anything else. The neighborhoods in these neighborhoods have paid for everybody else's road maintenance and capital improvement plans since we started one in 2008, and have received, really, other than some Band-Aid patching, and an occasional seal coat, crack fill on some of them. But I can tell you that some of these neighborhoods have never received it. They've never been on the capital improvement plan. But these taxpayers have paid for everybody else's all these years. It doesn't matter whether they're in the northern part or the southern part, they've paid for it. They paid for everybody else's, so everybody needs to pay for their portion of the streets at least. Whether it's the sewer, I agree. I think sewers and things like that, we have to figure out how to separate. We have to figure out how to separate the tale of 2 cities that is Credit River, which is non-sewered and sewered, or future sewered. But that's it. Fair's fair for the rest of it, and it could become a big voting issue, obviously, and so everybody's got to look at that. Those are my comments.
Mike? Sure. So in 2017, I believe we had the neighborhood meeting to inform the residents about future sewer. And that was supposed to be in 25.
Mm-hmm.
And we pushed it back, and we pushed it back again, so. Great, we're gonna have these discussions, so we'll push it back another few years. See if it ends up.
Yeah, and at that same meeting, the town board agreed that probably, when the question was asked about, participation in the normal, town board agreed that having saved so much money on doing it, that they probably should take at least 75%. I mean, I still have the minutes of that. The 75% of the cost of doing Country Court, because that was the neighborhood meeting that was there. Now, it was never put in a resolution or anything else, but it was a supportive statement that was made, during the meeting. So
I don't remember that. 60% is the number I thought I've heard in the past,
But
where,
Normal is 40-60.
right,
64.
correct, but I was the person that brought it up, made the statement, and it was accepted
Well, except there was
It's
an
an open house, it was an open
It
house
wasn't a-
meeting.
It wasn't a council.
I
meeting.
did say that we had no legislation on it.
Yeah.
But there was a promise that was made.
So, but I think, Jay, that, I mean, the end of the day, I think, you know, staff has talked about the next steps, and wanting to talk about the next step
Right.
and continue on with this discussion. And, you know, many of these items are items that they've talked about, wanting to, you know, get on in front of council and have these workshop discussions.
Or they are actually part of, I mean, most of the stuff that's in here is most likely part of the process that is going to go, that we're going to go through. But I think it's good to have a list. I mean, there's, I wouldn't say that all of this stuff is being excluded or anything else. I think that it's, most of it is in the works or would be part of the process that we would go through. And I'm just saying that, you know, we obviously aren't ready at this point. We haven't gone far enough for anybody to make a good decision on this without more discussion. And I would like to see at least a monthly work on this to make sure that we have that, you know, that we are actually addressing all of these things as we go along.
And it's hard to put it monthly when staff may have time in between.
Or they bring it,
I mean, I think
but periodically we need to do more.
Agree, right? So I think that's the direction that we should make of staff, is to continue down the punch list of items to fully vet this out and get to the point in the minute, in one of those pieces is a continuation to continue, it can keep continuing to apply for grants and things like that. 'Cause the only way you're gonna ever get credit is to be consistent about your application for them. I wouldn't say that we're completely out of not getting that this year. You know, it seems to have been well recepted from the investment committees.
I thought so.
So I think, you know, there's always the opportunity. The only opportunity you have is ones you apply for, right?
Right. And we should be trying to identify any others.
Right, and there was, you know, what was the opportunity that we talked about earlier, Steve, that we had a request from one of our federal legislators about a federal grant opportunity for this type of. Yeah.
That'll be next
I forget what it's called, but that's an annual opportunity grant that funds this type of project. But that one only requires a 20% match. Actually, probably better than the state grant. Because that one requires 50%.
Sure.
So there's other opportunities, but you have to keep asking for them, right? So again, I think at the end of the action out of this is to continue to have staff address this. I think I'm in on continuing to keep.
Yeah, and then I would just say that I have one other thing to add to this, which is a little bit unrelated. But we still have a clock ticking on an MPCA permit over a sewer issue in Stonebridge. And you know, I haven't seen a lot on that. And I would like us to treat that with a little bit more urgency as well. I mean, the thing about if we get all of these questions answered, we get everything worked out. What happens if we do get all of the money? You know, and then we're not able to spend it because we're not able to move forward because we haven't answered the questions. So, you know, I think it's timely for us to work on these things too.
Okay, any other comments?
Might need longer workshops.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, if you recall, council, this was on the agenda, if time allows, for our last workshop.
Right.
We spent most of the workshop talking about
Mining or.
yeah.
These things
another
always
thing,
end up
so.
to be at the last one.
But
Yeah, I'd love to have a full day workshop.
no, I see many workshops out of going through this. It's not, but we need to start treating it with some seriousness to say that, hey, we want to accomplish these things. And I'll just be one to say, I think this is a good list to start, but there's some things that I pointed out that it's missing that we should also add to it.
So I'm pretty sure staff has it.
They probably have another list. Yeah.
So are there any financial models that you're aware of that cities have used to model something like this? Here.
Just hold that part down.
There are models out there, but a lot of times when you're gonna go something this big and you're going with state funding and you know there's gonna be bonding, a lot of times they'll use like the financial consultant like Ellers because they've got some of those models, they've worked with other cities in that, and so they can devote, a lot of time, and they have access to some statistics that we don't have, that like the state has for, some of their data that they can't specifically, give you. But well, that, and then there's other numbers that the state, they have access to that we can't get. And so a lot of times the financial consultants can do that. But I think that we would use somebody like Ellers for that. I mean, we can put our financial model together, but a lot of times I would get the numbers from what some of their projections are.
Okay. All right, well, should we move on? Sure. Sounds good. Let's move to 8.1, staff council member updates, update on election information, clerk.
Good evening. I had a conversation with Julie Hansen regarding our absentee voting. Scott County will take on our absentee voting for this year. With my help, I am going to dedicate Tuesdays and Fridays to going over there and helping them staff the room
And you could do your normal work there too, right?
if time allows.
Yeah.
And then, so are we going to work on a public notice campaign then, social and email to make sure?
I had put all that information on the website and I have taken it down since. So, but yes, I can do some blasts and make sure that the residents know that they will have to vote. If they're going to vote in person absentee, it's going to be at the Scott County Public Works Building.
Okay. Sounds good. Anything else?
I have nothing else.
Sue?
They started working on the audit today, so tomorrow the auditors will be physically here. So audit is going on this week. So
No.
Jay?
The only thing I would say is we should probably make sure everybody knows of and continue to market our first meeting in the park, which is next Monday at 6 o'clock.
Best Court Park?
Yeah.
6 o'clock. That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
All right.
May 11th, Country Court Park. Leroy, anything?
No, they've been out grading the roads.
Steve, Shane?
Oh, Shane.
Perfect. Who's, Steve can't vote.
I'll make a motion to
Or
adjourn.
motion it, so it's Leroy.
Somebody else that's second now.
I'll second it. I'll be a,
No, Leroy was saying.
oh, that's right. I'll
You're
be Leroy.
Motion by Schomer, second by Seidenbach, all in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
I'm good, how are you? Yeah, I don't know what to say, or like, get kind of zapped of all the.
Well, we can start out with, 40% of all these there. Yeah. Yeah, well, I got one. It was probably right here. Me, but they're gonna have somebody else.
Let me get the second wave, file a injury claim against the secretary.